Sand. Whoa, what's up, YouTube and Instagram? How you guys doing? It's your favorite boys, the Finley Mortgage Team. Back on it on Fridays. Got some fantastic information for you guys today. Some financing information.
We do.
To be exact.
Some might call it Finance Fridays. So this is, I believe, our 5th week doing this. We are decently excited about today's live stream and the video drop that we did. So we know we had a huge following of people who reached out to us about our 20K down product. So today we wanted to just talk about a little bit about some of the things that we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks about the product. Some things that we've seen have worked that haven't worked. We wanted to explain the product a little bit more for anybody who doesn't really know anything about it. So this live stream is basically just kind of a summary of the product that we're offering, some of the wins, some of the losses, some of the things that work, some of the things that don't. And we have a few cool things to tell you guys about that we're planning for the new year as well. So we wanted to pack this one full of a bunch of useful information for all of you. First things first, $20,000 down product. So we've had a ton of people reach out. Some wins in regards to the product itself. A lot of flippers are coming to us looking to use this product. It is actually created for flippers, but you can obviously implement the BRRRR strategy depending on how you're structuring your loan. Most of the applicants that we're seeing right now currently I'm seeing a lot in Windsor, seeing a lot in Sarnia. So one of the big differentiating factors between an application that we're finding that is working well and an application that maybe isn't working so well is either buying it off or how you're buying the product. So if you're getting it off of MLS, it probably doesn't have enough meat on the bone to really use this product effectively. Whereas if you're getting it from a wholesale or a private sale, you're definitely going to have more opportunity to be able to use this product to qualify. For anybody who doesn't know about this product, we'll run you through it. Nicole's notes version of it really quickly. Aaron, you want to start?
Yeah, guys. So this product is specifically created to reduce barriers in exchange for a higher carrying cost, guys. It is something that's going to come with it. And again, it is a private mortgage product. So, go into it with real expectations as to, this is a riskier loan to value in the perception from the bank. So how it works is $20,000 down is the minimum payment that they accept for 1 to 4 unit purchases up to $700,000. Anything above that $700,000 range, they do require a little bit more down. So whether that's 5% total or 10% total on a rental property is still a save in capital when you consider most lenders are going to want you to have the 20% down anyways. So just keep that in mind. It is a fully open 6-month term, so there is no exit penalty. Whether you are selling the property or whether you are refinancing the property, it does not cost you anything to break this product. There is a fee involved, and it's much cheaper than the fee involved on a standard private. On the standard privates, you are looking at 4% at least total. So a 2% lender, 2% broker. On this product, specific on this flip product, your overall fee is somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. And that's built into the mortgage as well too. It's not paid upfront. So again, just reducing the upfront barrier costs. Something that's super important that we've been getting some feedback on from Calvert, just with the deals that we've been sending over to them. Making sure that there is first off, a contractor's quote. So either from a contractor, or if you are a GC or a contractor yourself, and you have a ton of experience, they will accept a quote from you. But they want to see, what is it that you're looking to do? They need something to landmark the progress by. So they don't want to just see, general bathroom, kitchen, and then a dollar amount. They want to see something kind of specific. Are you looking to update the appliances, the floor, windows? Give them something to landmark and see progression with. Another thing that they want to see too is comparables, which is something that's super important as well too. for a couple reasons. One, obviously, it ensures that there is the value there for your ARV. So the whole, the way that this product works is that the ARV is significantly higher or high enough that there is enough profit in the project. And that's really what Calvert is looking for. They're looking for a profitable outcome and not a project that you're going to be in for, 6 months and beyond. They want to make sure that they're not going to be left picking it up after if you kind of run your way out with that high carrying cost and just run out of budget. The comparables, they want to see something more than just an address on a piece of paper with a recent sale. Preferably, and especially for wholesalers out there who are listening, if you guys want to be preemptive, make sure you guys have some sort of MLS or realtor listed comparables ready to go, because we're going to ask for it anyway. So either have that separate and be ready for when the mortgage agent asks, or send that along to us with the file. You don't necessarily have to send it to the buyer, but make sure you send those realtor comparables over to us. And they want to see some sort of MLS listing as well too. They want some details on the property. So they're going to want to see the lot size, the living size, whether it's anything below grade or above. Just something that's a little bit more detailed than what some of these buyer packages have. The buyer packages are great for potential buyers and buyers list, but when it comes actually down to the lender looking at it, the lender's got to make sure that all the due diligence is done and the numbers do make sense. So make sure you have something from a realtor ready to go for when we need that.
For sure. So some of the things that have been working, obviously, these wholesale deals have been working for a lot of our clients. Obviously, you're getting them undervalued. That's the whole reason you're doing it, and then you're flipping it and making some profit on it. Something that Calvert has been working on since we had initially done our first webinar to now is their appraisals. So their appraisals they can now do in-house. They can now verify the value of a property without having to take 2 or 3 days to have somebody go out and verify the value of it. You can now be competitive in the market. They have the ability to do that now in Ontario, which has been a huge help for a lot of our investors.
Mm-hmm. Really speeds up the process as well too, because especially right now where we're seeing a lot of these, some of these quick flips come in, or on the occasion where financing falls through for other buyers on wholesale properties. End of the year, busy time. It's extremely tough to book appraisals in some areas right now, and you're looking for at least a week. Some of these private deals, you guys are obviously looking for private financing because of maybe tight closings. Being able to close in that timeline, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Being able to close in that short timeline is important. And now that they can do an in-house appraisal and confirm the value, that saves tons of time. So a super key component. And then they're able to turn around and fund in 2 to 3 days, guys. So these are super quick products, in and out. On the flip side, they ideally want to see, something around the 4-month timeline. And that just makes sure that there's profit to be made in the project. They do have the ability to extend financing past the 6 months. But again, with such a high carrying cost, at that point, you may be better to look at just a traditional private. And that's actually a conversation I was having with some guys today. It was a super short closing in terms of the timeline. And they were unsure just if, whether a refinance was going to be available or whether they were specifically going to be looking at a flip. They were considering more towards the refinance side. But when we consider that the average time for a refinance in which a lender is going to want to see you own that property is 6 months, and then that's before you're going to be able to actually apply for the refinance. Is it worth maybe looking at either with Calvert putting the full 20% down and dropping your interest rate because they do allow you to scale it? Or is it better to just try to find a private lender who's going to put out 8% money and, be able to afford that longer carrying time without kind of running into your any of your profits? Because if you guys have to carry it beyond that 6 months, especially on a refinance, at 15.5%, it really eats into the capital pretty quickly. So I think just making sure it's the right product for the right game plan is really just something that we found we've been having some discussions with up front.
For sure. I was actually, one of the notes was to bring that up, is specifically, does it make sense for you to take the product? I mean, everybody wants 20,000 down. It makes sense, but at the end of the day, does the exit strategy for this product make sense for your specific deal? Like, if you're going to be in it for longer than 4, 5, 6 months, does that carrying cost actually equate to you not having to put down 20%? And if you are thinking about the difference between putting that down and you not being able to afford it, like maybe that deal isn't for you, kind of thing. Like, it would make the most important thing on our end is to make sure that you guys are in a situation where the exit strategy at the end is where you want to be. Like that's the goal. So if you can't get to that goal and you get into a project or you get into a deal where you can't exit effectively and it's going to eat in your bottom line, that doesn't make sense. So, the most important part is to, even when assessing private options, is to really dial in what all the expenses are going to look like when breaking the mortgage. So most brokers will talk to you about the APR, which is your total annualized percentage rate, which, if you take a look at all the costs for your transaction, it's going to break down into your broker fees, your lender fees, your rates, all of it into one. That's going to be what it's going to cost for the first year. Now, you need to figure out what is it going to cost when you break that mortgage. And most people don't think past the transaction and getting in the property, because there are open terms, there are closed terms, there are lenders who will do 6-month open, 6-month close. There was some who will charge 3 months interest penalty, some will charge 1 month interest penalty. And now and each one of those variables will change the rate and terms that your loan is in. It's very liquid, and we have different lenders for different situations. So it's important to be able to put those concerns or like your goals up front so we can align you with the proper product. Fees to break, and I just touched on it, but the fees to break, we were just talking to a client actually this afternoon, and he was talking about how it makes sense for him to take a 1-year fully open B mortgage and not have any fees and have a higher carrying cost per month than it does for him to take maybe like a lower rate, but like has a fee attached to it on the back end. He's thinking ahead and doesn't want to have to incur that cost down the road. So looking at all those variables when you're planning out your flip or your BRRRR, whatever that is arguably one of the most important parts, and probably the most overlooked part by the majority of investors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just had a thought and it slipped my mind. That's what Friday afternoons do to it. Yeah, I think we kind of touch on this every time too, and it really comes down to goal setting, and just having that initial conversation and talking about what your goals are, and then being able to work from there, and make sure you're getting into the right product. What I did want to touch on again is just what does a refinance look like out of a private mortgage too. Because not every lender follows the exact same guidelines. So there are some lenders out there, especially if you're looking for a really early exit time. So if you're looking to get into this flip product and you want to be able to, maybe it's just some lipstick and it's, a quick paint and some very basic touch-ups, and you're ready to get out in like 3 months. Not every lender is going to be able to refinance in 3 months. And if they do, from some of the experiences that we have, they're very strict with what you're able to do with the equity takeout. And some of them actually restrict you on what value you can use to refinance out. So some lenders may require you to finance off of the actual purchase price and not your after repair value, which can definitely kind of change the outcome and what's available for you to pull out of equity. And essentially, they're just replacing that original private mortgage with a new A or B mortgage at a better rate, which is still an upgrade, but you're not able to use that equity. Some lenders also don't allow you to take out free equity and put it into your checking or savings accounts if it's coming out of a private mortgage. Some of them want to see where those funds are going, and they restrict you with where it can be directed. So like we've seen in the past, we haven't been able to direct some equity into a client's checkings account, but they will allow you to pay off debt. So maybe it's a car payment that you wanted to pay down, or maybe it's a line of credit that you used or a credit card that you used to finance the renovations and the construction. That's fine. But in terms of actual equity takeout, they're a little bit more strict with putting those funds directly into your bank account. Having a purchase and sale agreement, if you guys are looking to use those funds to be able to move forward with a new purchase, definitely having a purchase and sale agreement ready to go would help as well too, because then we can have the lender direct those funds from the trust account into the purchase.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about or wanted to bring up today, which is hopefully going to be something that's going to be consistent in our live streams moving forward, is just like a client highlight or a deal breakdown. So we're just going to maybe choose a deal that we've closed this week or this month, and we're going to break down basically some cool stuff that we got to do with it, some maybe challenges that we faced, how we overcame them, and how you guys can take that away and use it in your investing career. So I'm going to start with a 13-plex that we just closed actually in Windsor, Ontario. I was dealing with this client, I think since June or July. This client had come to us. He had initially had a deal with Desjardins. Desjardins had ordered the appraisal. They had ordered the building inspection report. Unfortunately, the report came back unfavorable just in regards to some of the different aspects of the building that were a little dilapidated, and they weren't really up to par of where Desjardins needed it to be. The NOI was fine, it cash flowed the way it needed to, but the condition of the property wasn't where it needed to be at. So we ended up going to a mortgage investment corporation. Mortgage investment corporation was more than happy to do the loan. It was a really great rate, decently low fees for a private loan. We get to closing, and then basically the city, the seller hadn't told the buyer that the 3 units that were in the basement level were actually illegal units. They weren't legal units, and there was a work order from the city to actually stop to not allow them to move forward on a transaction until the work order was complete. So obviously, the red tape and during COVID and everything like that, it actually just got taken care of like last week. So from July to now, it was all red tape with the city. Luckily for us, our buyer was able to negotiate with the seller, and they were able to come to some sort of conclusion. To throw a wrench in the mix, the mortgage investment corporation said, "No, we're done. We'll wash our hands with it. We don't want to do this anymore. It's been waiting too long. We've been having our money tied up for way too long. You guys are on your own." Like probably 4 weeks out from closing, we were able to secure another loan with a private mom and pop lender. Better terms, better rates. We were able to close it decently quickly, and our client is a happy camper. So currently right now, his exit strategy is to do a little bit of cosmetic renovations to the property. Luckily for him, he is getting 4 units that are about to be vacant at the end of this month. So he's going to go do some cosmetic renos and then do a BRRRR. So in a year from now, the NOI of that property should be high enough that we're able to get him into an institutional loan. He can pull out some of the equity that he's done for raising the value of the property, and then rinse and repeat. So basically everything that all of our investors are doing on the residential side, it's very easy to be able to scale into larger deals. So don't let the purchase price scare you away. As soon as you realize how to add significant value to a property through the net operating income and through raising rent, you very quickly realize that it's way easier to do that than it is to add strategic renovations to a property and hope the value of that property is going to increase because of the comparable sales in the area. Mm-hmm. All the investors who have graduated from the duplexes and triplexes, there's this weird niche market where between 6 and like 8 units, nobody buys. It's like people go from 1 to 4 and then maybe a 5-plex, and then it goes right from like 8 and up, and all the big boys just play 8 and up. So if anyone's looking for really cool opportunities, I would think between 5 and 8 units is where you need to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say a lot of the stuff that we're seeing right now, like Josh said, there's it's hot. Like once you get past the 4 units, 5 and 6 units, and then it really does jump up to like maybe an 8 unit, and then 10 and above. And that those larger units, that might be something that we start to see a larger surplus of on the market moving forward. Just with COVID, maybe some owners and landlords are looking to offload, especially some sort of like mixed use property where there's some commercial aspects in the bottom, and maybe those businesses have had a tough time staying open over COVID. Some things to remember moving forward with those is on these projects like that, where the value of the property is directly derived from the income producing method, you are going to have some challenges potentially bringing in the accurate value on the appraisals, especially right now if we're starting to see high vacancies due to people either losing their jobs, if it's residential, or just businesses struggling to stay open or paying rent. And something that especially if there's some sort of note in the purchase and sale agreement as well too. So if you see something that dictates in the purchase and sale, or not the purchase and sale, but maybe in the MLS or in the purchase and sale, if it's an assignment, that one of the tenants hasn't been paying rent and it's noted and it's kind of public, the lenders and the appraisers, they can see that, they can use that. That's going to be taken into consideration when they do the appraisal as well too. So again, just keeping aware of the economy and the markets and what's kind of going on. And that is going to directly impact the valuations and the values of these larger multi-units, the mixed-use res, and these larger apartment type styles that are deriving their value directly from the income producing method.
For sure. Do you have a deal you want to talk about?
Yeah, we did a pretty interesting deal in London a couple of weeks ago. It was 3 properties that were being purchased under 2 different corporations by the same 2 buyers. Now, they were buying it under 2 different corporations for a very specific reason. 2 of the properties were directly attached to each other. So what happens in that circumstance is that it becomes one title. And what they were looking to do is avoid that merging of the title, because they were looking to turn around and flip the properties after they had done some renovations. So they had brought the purchase to us after some of their other traditional financing had fallen short, and the loan, the values that they were looking to get from the banks weren't exactly where they needed to be. We were able to syndicate a private mortgage to get it done for them through about 4 or 5 different lenders. We also used a couple pieces of collateral property to help to get the loan to value a little bit higher, to reduce the amount of capital needed to move forward with the actual purchase, because a lot of the capital was being tied up in the renovations and some other projects that they had going on. So again, just an example of how we're able to use collateral properties and some other equity outstanding in other properties to help increase the loan to value, reduce the amount of down payment that you need. And we can have an interesting structure of the actual purchase as well, where, like I said, these guys were actually able to purchase it, do one purchase under 2 different companies, and avoid the merging of the titles on those side-by-side properties. Kind of looking forward down the road, it just makes it easier as we're looking to flip those properties and sell them off if they have their each individual titles. So another interesting project that we were able to get done as well.
Yeah, super interesting. We had, that one had a ton of different flexible financing variables attached to it that we had to work through. Why don't you tell them a little bit about signing as a guarantor without being on title? Didn't one of the applicants have to sign and personally guarantee based off one of the pieces of collateral?
Yeah, so it was an interesting structure. So the 2 pieces of collateral were, one was owned in a holding corporation, the other one was in a personal name. So how it works when you guys put pieces of property up for collateral is you have to technically sign as a guarantor, because when the charges get blanketed across all the properties, the purchasing properties, and the collateral charges, if it's in your personal name, you are still technically responsible for that mortgage. So the question was, if he was signing as a personal guarantor because of the staking the property and the equity in the collateral property, whether or not that would come back and affect any personal gains on tax-wise capital gains down the road when he went to sell the properties that he was flipping. So the answer is no in that case. Even though you are registering as a personal guarantor on the collateral properties, on the purchasing properties, because of the collateral equity, it does not affect you moving forward with your capital gains being able to sell the property. So if you're looking to purchase properties that you're flipping in a holding company or a numbered company, and maybe you want to use a piece of collateral that's in your personal name, you will have to sign as a guarantor, but it does not put you personally on title or does not affect your capital gains in the way that you show that income tax down the road.
Perfect. Yeah, some really interesting stuff. So we actually have a few questions here. We're going to go to Instagram first. We have one that says, hey, y'all, great examples as always. Can you guide us through a process of getting a mortgage when it needs 9 months of renovations? Interest-only mortgage then? Refi, question mark? Okay. So in that specific situation, you're going to have a longer term that you're going to need the private mortgage for. So in your specific situation, I would recommend having just a general private mortgage. Probably, if you come to us and you say, look, I'm only needed for 9 months, we could probably be able to figure out a situation in which you're able to have like a 9-month closed and then the rest of it open. Our lenders are decently flexible in finding solutions. I would recommend doing just a regular private mortgage instead of a high interest private mortgage, just because of the length of how long you plan on carrying that loan for. That extra carrying cost for the higher rate would obviously affect your ability to be able to be profitable on your deal. Depending on obviously how much you want to put down there, you can get quite affordable private loans. So if you were looking to put maybe 30% down, 35% down, there are mortgage investment corporations out there who would be willing to offer you in between 5.5% and like 7.5%, depending on the loan to value and the geographical area. So it really just depends on your specific situation and where you're purchasing. This is a request to be in a video. We got somebody wanting to be in a video. It's not working for me. Sorry, it's not working for us. We have another question. It says, for anybody on our Instagram account, if you unfortunately can't join right now, but if you want to send a question, we'd be happy to answer it for you. Another question from Rue on Facebook. Hi team, what's your take on burring a condo unit with built-in equity? Aaron, you want to take that one?
Burring. So first off, burring condo units, and not necessarily just burring in general, but just condo units for rentals. Something to keep in mind is that condo fee quickly eats into your cash flow and your ability to debt service that property down the road. I'd say the majority of the properties that we see in terms of condos that are rentals are probably cash flowing $300 to $800 a month. They're done really well. As soon as you add in there a $300 to $500 condo fee, most of these properties are either in the negatives or relatively close to only $100 or $200 a month with the cash flow. So the purchase price on the condos can be attractive, but you really have to take into consideration what your mortgage is going to be, and then add into account the condo fee as well too, because like I said, that definitely eats into your cash flow. Now, in terms of burring a condo with built-in equity, if you're talking about a vendor take back, which can be an option, in which that case the seller would leave that equity in there for you. It can definitely be a good option. To be able to get into any property with a vendor take back, you will need some sort of private solution. So whether that is the 20K down flip product with Calvert, or whether it's just a traditional private route, they will allow you to use the vendor take back as a full down payment, which can definitely save on some of the upfront capital. And in some cases too, I've seen some really competitive vendor takebacks where some people are getting like a 2% VTB at 90% loan to value, which is pretty crazy. And then all you have to do is just come up with a 10% cash and any renovations and stuff like that. So I think we get a lot of people who call us and ask us, how would they be able to kind of convince a seller to leave the money in there for the vendor take back. And I think my advice is there's a lot of people who have some very strong vendor take backs and are really good at negotiating them, obviously, just with the terms that they get. So take a look into the, if you're in Cash Flow Tribe, which probably most of you are, just take a look through the forums and the pages and take a look for some of those posts where people are talking about the great deals they get in their vendor takebacks. Just ask them what their selling points are. What do they talk about? What do they find is most successful? Obviously, saving on some of the capital gains tax can be a really great option. And then the fact that, they're also going to get maybe a small amount of interest paid out for the next year as well too. And the fact that it's just going to help them sell their property. But like I said, I think the big thing is just taking advantage of those more experienced with the vendor takebacks and those who have specifically dealt with sellers before and have negotiated them. Because I do see a ton of really strong vendor takebacks out there. Like I said, some of them really high loan to value, 80, 90%, and some of them super low rate. I think I saw like a 90% loan to value at 0% interest rate one time. And that's just crazy. That's free money. So
there are really interesting situations in the commercial space, the large multifamily space as well. If you can get a VTB, it is possible to deal with some credit unions who have the ability to give you conventional loans in front of a VTB. Get in touch with us and we'll explain a little bit more about it. But, there are really, really enticing ways. So those VTBs that on those big commercial multifamilies, you're going to want to at least have 2 or 3 years for that VTB, specifically because when you're creating a conventional loan with, say, like a bank, for example, they're going to want to at least keep you in for like 2 or 3 years. And it's going to make sense for you to get into it for at least 3 years to build in some equity. Your whole idea is to exit on refi. So for a big loan and if you're getting a VTB, you're going to want to build in that value, right? So, have it a little bit longer than a year. You don't want to be in a situation where you lock in like a 5-year fix or a 3-year term, and then in a year from now, you got to find a way to pay back that VTB or you're in trouble. So definitely think of those things before you do it. Now, that being said, guys, we are this close to 1,000 followers on Instagram. We are trying very hard to get there. We have some pretty cool stuff we want to announce. One of them being a giveaway. We're going to be giving away $500 in cash before Christmas. That $500 is going to be the easiest $500 you've ever made. You got to do 3 things for us. You need to like our Instagram page. You need to follow our YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're going to be making some sweet content for you next year. And number 3, you got to tag 3 friends and hopefully those 3 friends like money too. And we can obviously grow our following. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of start and launch 2021. We have some really cool ideas that we are going to be starting in the new year. One of them being we're going to try an investor interview. So if you guys know any investors who want to sit down and talk to us, we're going to explain their investment journey, how they started, where they're at, what they specialize in. Try to give you as much knowledge as possible. So what we're trying to do is give you knowledge, but what we want to do is we want to take the experience from these guys. We want to give it to you. And we want you guys to learn from other people's mistakes. So that's one of the things we're trying to do for next year. So if you guys could, we're going to be dropping some Instagram stuff in the short time to let people know how they can win that $500 in cash for Christmas.
Yeah. And if you guys have any suggestions for content coming up in the new year as well, definitely feel free to leave that in our YouTube comments down below. And if you guys want to see, like Josh said, we do want to do some interviews and start doing maybe more podcast type style with some larger interviews. If you guys have any big names or some people that you'd love to hear us talk to, definitely feel free to leave some comments and some suggestions for us. And we definitely take all of your ideas into consideration.
Well, that has been another week of mortgage brokering. Always a pleasure, as always. Appreciate everybody tuning in, putting Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You guys are the reason why we continuously do this every single week. So we appreciate your support, and we'll see you guys next week.